Hello, church. Welcome to Proverbs 16, 17, and 18. And again, as Delan mentioned yesterday, there is way too much in here. Just go through these verses slowly. So much gold in here. I'm picking 3, but there's many more verses that could speak to you. I'm going with Proverbs 16, verse 33. This has always been one of my favorite verses because it declares the sovereignty of God. Look what it says. It says, "The lot is cast into the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord." We're pretty familiar with lots. Exodus chapter 28, verse 30 would talk about how God gave the priests the Urim and the Thummim, and that was intended to allow them to consult the Lord and get direction from him, and it was specifically based actually in an aspect of faith. The priests actually had to consult the Urim and the Thummim, however that looked, with faith, believing God would speak. And he did. He promised that he would. And in the same way, we can know today that God speaks to us by his Spirit and that he is sovereign. What's the big deal, Kevin, you might be asking? Friends, it bothers me a lot when I hear Christians referring to words like luck, like chance, karma, or fate. Church, what do we really believe is in control of our lives? The Lord, or these happenstance terms that we throw around that our society sometimes credits to good or bad things? This is actually a greater issue than we realize, because when we think, oh, that person just has good luck or good karma or whatever else you want to use, what are we actually saying? We're saying that their works earned them blessings. And we're not giving credit to the Lord, because it's the Lord that gives us all good things. James chapter 1 talks about that. In the same way, when bad things happen to somebody, oh, this got bad luck or bad karma, must have done something. What are we doing? Same thing. We're essentially saying, oh, that guy's deeds earned him some bad things. No, it might actually be the Lord's discipline or the Lord's desiring to grow character in us. And instead, we're just attributing it to that guy's works. Church, we got to stop that kind of thinking and get back to this aspect of firmly believing God's sovereignty is at work in our lives, not those things. And so we could ask the Lord this question: Lord, do I credit your sovereignty with the good and bad that comes into my life, or luck, fate, chance, or karma? Ask the Lord that question. Chapter 17, I want to look at verse 12. This is a great verse. "Better to meet a bear robbed of her cubs than a fool in his folly." Church, think about what he is saying, this word picture he is saying. We all know that if you happen to be blueberry picking in the bush and you come across a bear, a mother bear who is missing her cubs, the only option for survival, and that's key here, survival, is to run or to pray, but better to do both. Run and pray while you're running and hope that you get away. We've all seen the old John West salmon commercial where the guy comes up to the Muhammad Ali dancing boxing bear and somehow manages to grab that salmon. It's ridiculous. Nobody in real life does that kind of thing. It's a great commercial. But friends, we all know that it is better to run and pray than to meet a bear. But look at what the implication is. It is better to meet a bear robbed of her cubs. You have a better chance of survival, in other words, than to meet a fool in his folly. Friends, this is actually a word that's worth considering. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says in bold, like you don't misinterpret it, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Too many times, friends, we hang around people, I think, that actually draw an appeal to our flesh that we quickly excuse by saying, well, I'm going to witness to them, or I'm going to try and be Jesus to them. We should be being Jesus to those people, but too often we actually are with people because it draws and appeals to our flesh. And so I want to encourage you to ask the Lord this question today. Lord, are there any people that I hang around that I should reconsider? Ask the Lord that question today. Closing in chapter 18. We're going to look at verse 2 and verse 17, I believe. We're going to quickly look at verse 2. "A fool finds no pleasure in understanding, but delights in airing his own opinions." How do we form opinions, church? Isn't it great how sometimes we come across people that tend to be very opinionated about a matter that we kind of know they don't really know anything about? One of my favorites is parenting. You ever come across somebody who has never had kids, but they've got all the answers for raising your kids? I kind of chuckle inside a little bit when I come across people like that, because in reality, I know these opinions are going to be changing once they get to reality with their own kids. When we form opinions because of assumptions, church, we're in dangerous ground, because those opinions are not based on fact or truth. They're based on assumptions. And if you look at verse 17, we can see this. The first to present his case seems right until another comes forward and questions him. Church, we've got to start giving ourselves a greater amount of time to form opinions based on more information. Too quickly, I think we jump to an assumption or an opinion that appeals to us rather than searching a matter out. And so I want us to close with this thought as an example. Have you ever come across somebody in a grocery store who's grumpy beyond grumpy? I think most of us have been there, and it's very easy to repay that grumpiness with grumpiness. Have we ever considered what that person might be going through? They might be in constant severe pain. They might be going through a divorce or a bankruptcy. They might have had a falling out with a child, and we don't actually know. Friends, can I encourage you? Let's be careful how we form opinions, and rather be asking the Lord to help us form opinions based on truth and not on assumptions. I sometimes call it this way. Let's give people the benefit of the doubt. So not take offense easily when somebody questions us on something. Jesus was great at that. When people would sometimes come with him with confrontational things, he would ask a question. Let's not get offended when people do that for us too. And so I want to close with this question to the Lord. Lord, how do I form my opinions? On assumptions or on truth? Bless you, church. Have a wonderful day.